Let's start. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. So the last class, what we talked about classes, and we created. I gave you assignment. Hopefully everyone was able to finish it. I got from I think who Ravi has forwarded me the answer. What about you, Priyanka? Did you get a chance to look at the assignment, or if you have forwarded me? Okay, good. If you have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, we're going to start today. So, just on the last class, we talked about what are classes, and we talked about the setters and getters method and how to create the object of the class. We talked about memory diagrams. So, in this, we'll talk about a little bit more about constructors and interfaces. So, before jumping into that, let me give you, if you want to edit the name of the class. So basically here the class name is the name of the file. Okay, so if you wanted to go ahead and edit the name, you basically need to, let's say if I go up here and if I say open classes contact controller, so right now the name of the class is this one. So if I change it to contact controller 1, and if I go ahead and save it, you can just go ahead and save it like that. So automatically this will also change. The file name will be equals to the name of the class. Okay? Is that what your question was? So you just go ahead and change the class and then automatically see the name of the file is this contact controller.apex extension is apx, and then if you want to change the name, you can just go ahead and change the class name. Automatically the file name will be changed. Okay? So okay, what about video? What, like, do you want me to, are you asking how to change a Visualforce page? Okay, so if you go back here, I don't have anyone created right now. If I create one here, just change it here. Got it? Okay, so but we'll talk about Visualforce some other time. So now going back to our developer console, just give me an example of, just give me an output so that it'll refresh you. So we'll go back to our class, file, new. I'll create a new class and the name of the class will be, let's say, fridge. Go ahead and click OK. So let's say in this fridge class, I am creating two instance variables. Okay, I'm creating two instance variables, one to store the model number of the fridge and the other one to store these two things. Okay, so one to store the model number and the other one is to store how many are there in the stock. So now I also have, so now these are the private access modifiers. So I'm using the private access modifiers. It means that if I'm trying to access this variable outside of the class, I will not be able to do that, right? Because why? Because these are of private type. I can only use something which is available for public. So this is a private modifier. Private modifier will not be able to access outside of this class. Okay, so now what we're going to do is, then we will need a getter and setter to set the value and to get the value. Okay, so I will need one to set up for model number and the other one for the number in stock. So let's go ahead and create the public setter method to set the model number. So the return type would be void, and then it will be string the model number, and then here model number is equals to the model number. And then, so this is how I'm going to set the model number, because if I'm trying to set the, if I'm going to go directly, it will not be able to do it because it's a private. So I created a set method to basically set this model number. Now I will need a get method to retrieve this model number. So this return type of this method would be a string, and it will be get model number and return the model number. Okay, do a quick save here, and now tell me the output of this program. If I say fridge, my fridge is equals to new what will be the output of the program, guys? Think twice before giving me the answer. Okay, what's going to be the output of the program, guys? Can you see it now? Okay, now tell me what is going to be the output of this program. Okay, who is this waiting for the name? Who's that guy? Is it Priyanka? Because there's no name pop-up, it just shows waiting for the name. What's going to be the output of the program? No, why guys, why are you not replying? Okay, Ravi, think twice. Abhinav, think twice. All of you are wrong. Now think again and tell me what should be the right answer. That's wrong. See, this is going to complain. The reason it's going to complain is my fridge does not know directly of this model number because it is of private type. So now if I try to execute this, it's going to complain because this variable is not visible. This particular thing is not visible. That's why it's going to go ahead and complain. Now, why? Because it's a private type. If I change this to public, then this will work. But the problem with changing it to public would be anyone can set any wrong value as well. So I want to control that. I don't want somebody to set a wrong fridge value. I wanted to first validate it and then put it the right one. So how will I do that thing? I have used a set model number. So I'm going to call the set method here. And in this set method, so this is going to be my set method. This is what I'm going to use, and in this set method it's basically, it will give me that output. Initially, since it was a private access modifier, it was not going to work because that particular thing is not visible outside of the scope of this class. Did you get it? Why it was complaining earlier? Okay, so next thing is, guys, if let's say we do not set a value, okay, we do not set this value of this fridge, and I'm trying to retrieve a value here. Okay, so now tell me what will be the output of this program. Are you able to hear me properly? Because today I'm not using headphones, I couldn't find it. So model number is, what is this? Any guesses? What will be the output of this program? Very good. Very good, Priyanka. That's going to give a null answer because if you don't provide a value here, it will automatically give you a null value. So everything, if I run this program and I'm not setting up the model number, or if I'm not setting up number in stock, let's say if I wanted to get the number in stock as well. So how will I do it? Let me go back. Okay, so now if I don't set this as well, now what will I do? Let me go ahead and have a getter and setter for the number in stock as well. Okay. So now in this case, if I go ahead and call this method, so if I go ahead and display the value of get number in stock, what do you think will be the output of the program? Okay. Okay, this is the method, Ravi. Let me see. I'll change this to number in stock. Okay, who cannot see them? Which method you're not able to see? Very good, Abhinav. So answer to this question will be null, because whenever you don't set a value, if you don't provide a value or to these instance variables like model number or number in stock, etc., by default these instance variables get a value of null. Okay, if it's a boolean, they will get a default value of false. Other than that, all of them will get a default value of null. So if I go back here and run this program, then what will happen? They will say the model number is null and the number in stock is also null. Because if you don't provide the value, and if you're trying to call those values without setting them up, then they get a default value, which is always going to be a null. So for a string it is null, for integer it's a null. If you, let's say you have something called of a boolean type, let's see what will be the value. Okay, is it an old fridge or is it a new fridge? Let's say this is what I wanted to check. So here if I wanted to do it, let's say go ahead and copy this part of the program. So we have get model number, set old, and then we're going to have get old. Okay, so now if I go back and execute this program, and if I go ahead and check the value for the boolean as well, so what is going to be, is it old? And then here I'm going to say okay, all of them is going to get a default value. Even if it's a boolean, it's going to get a default value, not false. So automatically, if you don't set a value and you're trying to call that particular, if you're trying to retrieve the value which has not been set, automatically all of them will get a default value of null. Okay, so any questions on this one? So we didn't set a value and we're trying to access something which has not been set, so all of them gives us a null answer. So now, okay, Abhinav, what is your question?
What if I give number? If I give, you have boolean here, right? So
Yeah.
what if I give some numbers there?
Okay, so if you want to make it as a number, this one?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
let's go ahead and create that. Also will going to be a null value. Okay, if I go ahead and create, but we don't have a number as the data type, right? It's only going to be integer or a,
Yeah.
which is already there, integer.
Yes, I'm asking about if I say that if the model number in stock, model number is MI01, let's think, is greater than 4.
Okay,
So I can set that thing, right?
come again, come again.
See, if I have some, so I have 4 features. Among them, 2 are new, 2 are old.
Hmm.
Okay, so I want an automatic number that gives like how many number of old features and how many new features.
Okay,
So what have to do there?
so you can use data. See, if you want to store how many old fridges are there and how many new fridges are there, you need a number, right?
Yes.
So you can use integer is same as number, right?
So I
Because
have to give a
we don't
number
have
of
we
old in
don't
stock.
have a data type called number in Apex. We similar to that number, we have something called as integer. Did you get it, Abhinav?
Yes, I got it.
Okay. So now if I go ahead and so now you understood that why all of these were coming out to be null.
Yeah,
Okay.
because we didn't define them.
Because we have not defined them. So all of them get a default value only for instance variables. I'm not talking about local variables. Local variables are the variables that are defined inside the method. Those are called as the local variables. And for the local variables, you always need to provide a particular value, otherwise your program will not run. Okay, so local variable always needs to be initialized. You need to remember these words. It's called being initialized. The variable needs to be initialized. But in case of the uh, but in the case of a instance variable, they get a default value. So now how did they get a default value? Because of a constructor. Okay, because of this constructor. See, whenever I told you how to create an object, you can create an object by using this new and then the class name, and then why do you need this? These two braces, the circular braces, are nothing but these are calling the constructor. So every Apex class gets a default constructor. Okay, now that constructor is responsible to set up those default values. Okay, let's say I don't want, whenever my object get initialized or whenever my object is created, I don't want to set null values, right? I don't want a cat to be created with a age of 0 or age of something. I wanted to give some default values to them. You know what I'm saying? See here, if you create a if you create a fridge object, and if you create a fridge object and if you don't set up the if you don't set up any values for those, they get the null values. But if my requirement is that, okay, whenever I create a fridge, I should have a model number of the fridge set to something, I should have a number in stock, I should know is it an old or is it a new fridge, all those things I should know about it. So how will I make sure that whenever my object gets created that also has some values? That is done by the constructor. Now what is a constructor? Constructor is nothing but it's like a method. Okay, it's similar to create a method, but the constructor does not have a return type. Okay, and excuse me, and constructor always have the same name as the class name. Okay, so if my class name is fridge, the constructor name will always also will be fridge. Okay, so how do you create a constructor? You will say public, what is the name of my class? Fridge. Okay, that's the name of my class. And then if you wanted to set some default values, it takes some parameters. If you want to provide parameters, you can provide it. If you don't want to provide a parameter, you can just leave it empty here, but you need to provide these braces. So now this case, initially this program was giving me null for each of those. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to say model number is equals to, let's say, mx111. That's my model number. If I say number in stock is 14 and is old, let's say, is equals to false, if these are my values, so what will happen is whenever you call this line, now this part of the program will be called. Whenever you say my fridge is equals to new fridge, whenever it encounters this statement, then this constructor will be called, and in this constructor you are saying that I am initializing my model number with this, number in stock is 14, is old is equals to false. So now if you run the program, what will happen is they will not get null values, they will get the values that you have given to them. So that constructor will be called, and that constructor will basically will be responsible to provide those values. Does that make sense, guys? So that is called as creating a constructor. Okay, now you can have n number of constructor. Let's say if I go back here and if I go to my class, and let's say what is it, Priyanka? Can you talk? I didn't get your question, Priyanka. Priyanka, can you hear me? Okay. Uh, so your question is, what is the purpose of these setters and getter method if you can do things through a constructor, right? Is that what your question is, Priyanka? Yeah. So now the answer to that is, see, the constructor, when you're creating an object, okay, when you're creating, so let's say now if I wanted to change my let's say I have another constructor, okay, if I have, let's say if I have another fridge, okay, if I have another fridge, let's say, and So, and if I say this is my first fridge information and this is my second fridge information, now if I wanted to change the model number of the second fridge, how will I do it? Do you want me to see? Let's say if I want to change the model number of this one and change the model number of this one to something else. And then you cannot do it. You have to go back to the constructor and change it here, then it will change it at both the places. So constructors are basically needed is when you are creating your object. When you're creating your object for the first time, you don't want to create with null values. Okay, setters and getters are important after you have created your object. If you want to change those values specifically for one of the object or for the other object, then you will use the getters and setters. So the purpose of the constructor is you don't want to create a cat or you don't want to create an employee with the name of null, right? I wanted to have some default values for an employee. If I'm creating a cat, I don't want it to have a default value of null for the age of the cat when I'm creating a cat object. So constructors are useful to initialize those values. Instead of setting them to null, you can set up to whatever values you want. So every time you create an object of the class, you will have the you will get the values from using the constructor. Now what is a constructor? Constructor has the same name as the class name, but it does not have a return type. Means, see, if you compare this method with this, you have public here. You have these braces, you have braces here. You can pass parameters. We'll see how in the next in this. And then it has the same name as the class name. If your class name is fridge, it will also be called fridge. If your class name is cat, the constructor will be called cat. Okay, and then you can set up those values. Now tell me what is going to be the output of this program if I run this one. Very good. So in both the cases, what will this will return? This will return the same model number. 14 will be the number in stock. Fridge would be false. And then here also it will be the same values will be returned because both of them will call the same constructor and this constructor will set up the same values for both the fridges. Am I right? Okay. So now if I go ahead and execute, what happened? Line 2, column 1. Yeah, here. The return type was wrong. So now if I go back here and execute, both of them is going to get the same values for the two objects. So now I have two objects in the memory, two fridge objects. I have two fridge, but both have the same model number, same quantity, same false, and then the same thing here. Okay. So now this is going to be the constructors. Now guys, do you see any problem with this? The problem with this is that all of the objects that I'm going to create, they're going to get this default values, which I don't want. Okay, I don't want to have a default values for all the objects that I've created. Let's say I wanted to change the values, or I wanted to pass the values that I wanted to set. Okay, so to do that, let's take another example. So let's go ahead and create an employee class. Okay, and an employee, let's say he has a name, he has a designation, and he has a age. Okay, so private string, the name of the employee, so sorry, private integer to capture the age of the employee, and private string for the let's just leave this one, or just keep it, private string for the designation. Okay, next thing is let's go ahead and create the constructor. And I'm going to say name is Deepika, age let's say 26, designation junior. Okay, so now we have this one. Now what I'm doing here is I created an employee class, and in the employee class I have 3 different instance variables, both are marked as private, and I created this constructor. Now here this is an integer, so that's why. Now what's going to happen is if I go back and create 3 employee objects, okay, employee emp1 is equals to new of employee, okay, so this is the name emp1, emp2, and employee number 3. So you have, these are the 3 employees that you have. Now what will be, now if I wanted to go ahead and print the name, age, and designation, what's going to be the output here? What's going to be the output? Think twice before giving me the answer. Priyanka, take a look back, look at it again. Take a look at it again, Ravi. Why you think it'll be null, first of all, Ravi? Very good, Ravi, very good. So you're saying because the return type is private, That's why it's going to give you null values. Did I say this anytime? If it's a private, you cannot even access that. It's going to give error. It's not going to even go to the output screen. It'll give you error right here. You won't be able to even run this program. Okay? Because this is a private modifier, you will not be able to access these values outside of the class. So it's going to blow up right here. It's not going to go to the execute page itself. So if you wanted to go ahead and access these, you need what? You need a method to call the return the name and everything. So we'll create a getter method which will be of public, returns you a string, get name, return name, age, and then get designation. Okay.
That get age is integer.
Thank you. So now so is what's going to be the output? Okay, so this is going to be the first employee. Let me go ahead and what will be if I go ahead and run this one for the third employee as well. Very good. So it will be same, but I don't want to do that. Let's say I wanted to make sure that when I'm creating the object, I pass my own values for while creating that object. So how are you going to go ahead and do that? I can do it by something like this. So now this time the constructor, I will create another constructor, okay, and this constructor will also have the same name because it's a constructor. It should have the same name, but this constructor takes 3 parameters: name.
How many classes can we create in the class?
There's no limit. You can create as many as you want, but it should be different. Different in the sense the program should not be confused is which constructor to call. So let's say the number of parameters should be different. That's what I'm trying to say. So if this is a constructor that you're creating which takes 3 parameters, okay, one is of integer age, okay, and then you're passing the designation, okay, and then what I'm going to do here is I'm going to say this dot name is equals to name, this dot age is equals to age, and this dot designation is equals to this. Okay, so now what's going to happen is this is my constructor, Okay, so now I have two constructor in this class. This is the constructor which does not take parameters. This is the constructor which takes one string, one integer, and one more string parameter. And then whatever I'm passing, it's going to go ahead and set this. So now what will happen here is, in this case, if I say Amit, okay, and I say 26, and then I say doctor. Okay, so this is going to be employee number 2, his name, and so what will happen in this case? By this constructor, this line, this constructor will get called, which does not take any parameters. At this line number 2, since you are passing 3 parameters, this second constructor will get called, which takes 3 parameters: name, age, and this thing. Okay, so this one takes 3 parameters, and this one only take this one does not take any parameters. So this particular line will call this constructor. So Amit will be given passed to the name, 26 will be passed to the age, and doctor will be passed to this one. Okay, and then you're setting up the name, age, and designation of that employee. So now here, if I go ahead and call employee number 2 name, employee number 2 age, and employee number 2 designation. So now tell me, what do you think will be the output of this program? Very good, Ravi. Very good. Very good. Ravi, can you send only to me? Okay. Abhinav, do you have any questions? Very good. Okay. Okay, so now what's going to happen is very good. So the output for the program would be, if this part of the program, employee number 1, how is employee number 1 getting called? By this constructor. Which constructor? This constructor. Okay, so this constructor would get called. Now, and this will set Deepika 26 and the software engineer. So this is going to print the same line. This employee number 2, the second constructor will get called, which basically takes 3 parameters: name, integer, age, etc. And then this will get called, and for employee number 3, since it does not take any parameters, so employee number, this particular constructor will get called. So let's go ahead and execute the program. The name is not visible, and am I trying to get the name? Okay, so because that's where the whole purpose we did get name. So now all those three different, where is the output of the program? Employee Deepika, age of the employee 26, designation is software engineer, and Amit 26, doctor. So they're going to get repeated. Okay, so this is going to be the output of the program. Any questions so far?
Yes, Deepika, let's suppose if for the constructor 1 employee, let's suppose we pass the same parameters as constructor 2, then will that throw an error, or it's just the compiler confuses?
There won't be any error. So if you're going to say here Amit 26 and here you're going to say doctor, is that what your question is?
No, the parameters, say in the constructor employee, the first constructor, if you give the parameter, the same parameter, yeah, the
So
string.
okay, so you're saying me if I'm going to go ahead and do this. Oh, sorry.
Yes,
This thing?
yes.
Yes, that will be a confusion. The confusion would be you will not be able to create these two constructors which have the same list of parameters, because the compiler is going to get, the programmer is going to get confused that okay, when I'm calling this particular employee E is equals to new employee, am I supposed to do this or am I supposed to call this constructor? So which I'm supposed to call? So this is not even allowed. So you will not be able to have two constructors with the same list of parameters. It should be a different list. So I can have a list with just which takes only two parameters. Okay, that is fine. This will not, this is because then it is easily able to follow that okay, these, when you're passing two constructors, if it is of a string and integer, then this part of this particular constructor will be called. And if you're passing the three parameters, which is one of two of them is string and one is integer, and in this order, then this constructor will be called. Okay, so compiler should not get confused no matter how many constructors are created, but the compiler should not have a constructors with the same list of parameters or the same type of parameters. Things should be different. Either the number of parameters should be different, or either the type of the parameters should be different. So let's say you created one which takes a string name and integer, then there should be another one which takes, let's say, string and string if you have same number of parameters. So the type should be different. So basically the point is you should be able to figure out which constructor will be called in which case. Does it make sense, Ravi?
Yes.
Okay. So now here, guys, let's say I created this one. Now going back to the previous one, let me go ahead and do this. And let me go ahead and comment this constructor. Now let's see what's going to be the output of the program. What do you think? So if I go ahead and call and this part of the thing is commented out, means this is not going to execute. Now tell me what you think will be the output of this program. Okay, Abhinav, can you just, obviously I'm not able to follow what you guys are writing. So okay, Abhinav, what are you saying?
Employee 2 will be called like Amit and age is 26 and doctor, and just employee 1 and employee 3 will get none.
What about others? What is Priyanka's answer? Priyanka, what's your answer? Okay, Priyanka can talk. Okay, what about Abhinav? What do you think? What would be the answer?
Yeah, I said that. Employee 2 will get this three objects, Amit, 26 and doctor. Like employee 2 will get that name of the employee is Amit and age of the employee is 26, designation of the employee is doctor, and best employee 1 and employee 2 will get
So you're saying the same answer as Ravi.
Employee 1 will get null, employee 2 will get Amit 26 doctor, employee 3 will get null, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Okay, let's see. It's going to get confused now. Now what it is saying is, since you have already talking about this constructor, the default constructor that you get, you will only get the default constructor. Means, see, initially this statement was running fine, right? Just because we introduced this constructor, this constructor in the program, and we got rid of this constructor, now it is not providing us the default constructor that we got earlier. So the point here is, if you have created at least one constructor in your class, you will not get a default constructor, the constructor with no parameters. You will not get that. So they will not be, so the output will not be null. Here it's going to give you an error, means it is asking you that, okay, if you have provided one constructor, it means that you know about constructors. So now you will take care of everything about constructors. If you're not writing anything about constructors in your program, then the Apex will take care of it. The Apex compiler will take care of putting a constructor for you with the default values of the null. But if you know about constructors, I'm not, if you're writing one constructor in your class, then I'm not going to do anything about it. You need to take care of everything. So then that's why this program is giving error, because now it is getting confused that, okay, you are looking for a constructor with no parameters and you have not created one, because since you have already created your own constructor, the default constructor that you got earlier from Apex, you will not get it. So now if I go back and comment the second constructor, then what will happen is, then he does not know about any constructors. Then these two will be fine, but this is going to be an error because you have not defined a constructor which takes 3 parameters. So now it's going to spoil at this particular place. Initially it was talking about the constructor with no parameters. This time it is talking about the constructor with this parameter. So my point here is, if you are creating your constructor in your class, you have defined at least one constructor, then you need to take care of dealing with those constructors. Okay. If you have not provided any constructor in your class, if you have not created any constructor in your class, or if you have not talked about any constructor, then Apex will take care of it and he will provide the default one. Not everything, only the default one, which will give you null values. Does it make sense, guys?
Yes, a small doubt. Like passing the parameters should be in that the round braces, or can we pass in the constructor as well?
Like what? Like here you're talking.
Like yes, inside the constructor.
No, you see, this is the difference. So these are called as parameters. These are to receive those values. So whatever you're passing here, how you're going to receive it? I'm going to put it in name, I'm going to put it in age, and I'm going to put it in date. So these are called the parameters, and these are called the arguments. So you cannot say Amit here. If you're trying to say that, okay, can I do something like this? No, you cannot do like that. Is that what you're asking?
No. Inside the constructor, can we pass the parameters? Inside the curl braces.
This is what they like this.
Yes, can we?
Yeah,
All right.
we did it, right? This is the way we did it. So here, if you're inside the constructor and you still want to say name is equals to whatever, Simran or something, then yes, you can do this. Even if you're passing the constructor, what will happen is, even if you're, let's now in this case, what will happen is, if you have something like this, okay, if you are passing these 3 parameters and you are passing this name is equals to Rahul, now you're defining it yourself. Now you're not taking the one which is coming through, but you're taking the one which is a default that you have already pre-initialized with Rahul, and age is also you have initialized. Okay, now what will happen is designation you have initialized. Now the problem with this would be, if you're trying to call, so now public employee name, integer age, they see, designation, and then here what will happen is even if you're trying to pass 3 different values, let's say if I'm going to pass some age 15, okay, designation actor, then what will happen is, what do you think will be the output? So these values will no longer be valid because you're automatically defining name is equals to Rahul 31 engineer. So if you run the program, this will not make any significance because you're not defining that, okay, put this name in this name. You're not defining that anywhere in this program. So that's why this, even if you're passing 3 parameters, this constructor will be called, but these values are not passed. These values are not getting passed. Actually, value that are setting up is Rahul 31 and engineer. That's why. So now what do you think will be the output of the program?
Rahul 31 engineer.
Very good. For which employee? Employee number 2.
Hmm.
Abhinav, are you following?
Yeah, yeah, I'm following.
Priyanka, are you following? So the constructors have the same name as the class name. They don't have a return type. Constructors will only be provided if you have not created your own constructor. If you have already created your own constructor, wait a minute. What's going to be the output here? Let me see.
Yeah.
Let me give some space here. Go ahead and execute it. Oh, okay, okay. Now can you tell me why this is giving you, why this was null? If I go ahead and run this, it's kind of slow. So 26 doctor, and why this is null, guys? Any idea?
Yeah.
What is it? Tell me. I'm
Yes,
trying to set Rahul 31 an engineer, but still it is going to be, it's saying null, null, null for employee 2. Why?
you please
Huh?
adjust the script this debugging one.
What is it? What is it?
Can you please remove debug one?
You want to see the debug logs.
Debug logs? Okay. This one? So the first 3 are Amit 26 doctor because the constructor with no parameters got called. Okay. The second is this one with these 3 parameters, Salman, 50 and actor. But still it gave us null, null, null.
Can you show me the method?
Yes, sir. Here is the one.
Because we are calling the get name method, right?
Yeah.
So that is returning name.
Yeah.
And
You said the output should be Rahul 31 an engineer, right? For employee 2, Ravi and Abhinav.
yes,
Why is it not coming? Okay, the reason it's not coming is, guys, this name and this name is the local. What actually we need to set up is this particular name, right? See, it's getting confused. We are trying to set up this name value to Rahul. That doesn't matter because the real time we need to set this name. Okay, so now what I'm going to say, if I go ahead and change this thing to this and this, and this one is fine because this can be a designation. There's only one designation defined. We have two names. One is a local name and one is an instance variable name. So which name are you talking about? We wanted to set the value of the instance variable name to Rahul. Instance variable age to Rahul, not this age, because this age is like a local age. It does not, it is the scope of this age is from here to here. When we're talking about the employee object, these are the variables that employee object will get, right? So now if you wanted to call this name, that but employee's name, then I have to use this operator to avoid the confusion. If this, instead of this name I had just n, there was no confusion. Since I have both created with the same name, the thing got confused and is confused that, okay, which name, I'm trying to set up the name of this particular name to Rahul, and that's why it did not set up the instance variable name to Rahul. So now if you run the program, then what will happen is you will get the exact output that you were expecting. Rahul is an engineer. So now if I go back here and debug only, now this time you're going to get Rahul 31 an engineer. Did you get it?
Yes, Deepika. So you see here is designation.
Oh, okay. Come again?
Uh, I that is a small, very small doubt. Uh, if I want space between the output and the input, like can you show me the debug one?
Yeah.
Output debug. So you just gave a column here, right? Designation of the employee colon doctor. We got that thing right. I want space there.
Where you want space?
Designation of the employee,
Huh?
and you have column there, right? So
Yeah.
I want space. If I want space there,
That's simple. If you want space, then instead of colon, just give space.
space is that okay?
Yeah. So here, give this space, this much space, of the column, this much space. So this is going to be the space that will be given, okay? Because everything that is inside the colon will get printed, even if it's a space. Here, this is going to be a space. Now you're not providing the space here, so then there won't be any space. So now if I go ahead and execute, now everything will be with the space and no columns except one of the line here. So if I go back to the debug here, name of the employee, age of the employee, designation of the employee. So now, see this line we didn't put any space, everything else is a space. Did you get it? Got it?
Yes, yes.
So now you understood why this particular employee object gave you a null values before, and then when you change to this operator, then it gave you the right values.
Confusion between two names like local
Because
name.
there were two name variable, one was this name and there was another name with variable this name. Okay, so this is an instance one, means every object will have its instance, it will have these three variables, and this is a local one which is belong to this particular constructor. So we were trying to set the name, this name to Rahul, but what we wanted actually was we want this name to be set to Rahul, so that's why we used this operator here. Okay, so this is about the constructors here. So now here, next thing that we have, so any questions on constructors? Okay, now next thing we have is interfaces. Now what do you mean by an interface? Any question? What do you mean by an interface? Okay, interface is basically, it's like a class, but all the methods that are defined in an instant interface are abstract. What do you mean by abstract? Means they do not have any body to those methods. Okay, they don't have any implementation. They just have the name of the method and the return type of the method and whatever the parameters it takes. That's all. It does not have any definition. An interface is basically a set of method signatures. Means it just have the return and the parameter definition, but it does not have any implementation. So something like this. So if I go back here and close everything. Okay, file, new, Apex class. Let's say we call it as a shape class. Okay, that's the name of the class. Okay, shape. Now, if I wanted to make it as an interface, I'll just go ahead and change it to interface here. That's all. There's no direct way of creating an interface. You can just create a class and then change it to interface. Okay. Now, an interface, all the particular what happens in an interface is it's going to have methods without any definition. So I'm going to create, let's say, string get area. Okay, string get parameter. That's it. This is what an interface is. Now you will ask me, what is the purpose of this interface, right? If I created some, sorry. Okay. So you have get area, you have get parameters, your public interface shape, area, and then you have the parameters. So now these are the two different methods that are declared inside of this. Okay, get area and get parameters. An interface has a method without the definitions. Means you can have another one, you can have list of parameters defined, you can have name, you can have return type, everything, but there's no body for the methods. Abhinav, do you have any question? What is this medium between?
What is the use of this? Like, if you call this method, then what does it happen?
Which one?
This one, the get area, get parameters.
You cannot directly call it. So now what will happen is you need to implement the method and then you can create. Now, and if I go ahead and say shape s is equals to new shape, you cannot do that. If I go back here and if I say shape s is equals to new shape, then then I say s dot of get area, it's not allowed. Okay, it's going to complain right away. It's going to say type cannot be constructed shape. Means you cannot create an object of an interface. You can only create an object of a class. Okay, interfaces. Now what is the purpose of the interface? I'll tell you the purpose of the interface. Then you will get a better understanding. So let's say, guys, you are working in a company. Okay, and your company have certain method names that you need to follow. Every company you will see that they have some standards. Okay, there are some standards of or some naming conventions that they use. Okay, and if they want to make sure that because see, whenever you're working in a code, the code is huge. You will not be able to work on everything in a code, right, at one point of time. Only some part of some piece of the code you will be touching, right? And whenever a new employee comes, he does not know about the whole code. He just know about his part of the code that he's dealing with. Just to make sure that he's using the right names, of the methods and etc. What you can do is, okay, guys, I need to run for something. So can we take a class tomorrow? And I'll let you know the next one. So we'll talk about this interface again. Okay? I'm running late for something. So we'll cover the interface again.
Okay.
Okay, and I will send you an assignment. Okay, let me give you an assignment right now. So assignment would be create a class with which calculates through the constructor. Okay, so the class should be like this. Okay, so the class should be like this. You have view area. Okay, if you give area means, okay, if you give four things, length, breadth, height, and whatever is this thing. In rectangle you give length and breadth. So if you give two pair values, it will give you the area by multiplying L into B. If you give only one thing, means if you only give one radius, then it will give you the area of that radius, area of that circle. Okay, so you will have two constructors, one which will okay, and three constructors, one which will also be like a cube, where in which you will give length into breadth into height. Okay, so what I'm trying to say here is you will create three constructors in a class, and you will have three different list of parameters. Okay, and one will take one parameter of integer, another will take two parameters of integer, the third one will take length, breadth, and height. So when you're giving three parameters, it will calculate the volume, it will return you back the volume. If you are passing if you are giving two parameters, then it will tell you the area. Okay, you will basically the length, breadth, and height. You have to calculate area. Okay, and you're setting the values of those using the constructors. Are you getting what I'm saying?
Area, what else?
So area, see, you have three different shapes. One is rectangle, one is cube, and the another one is circle.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let me think.
The area of circle
Would be pi r square, right?
and length. What about the circle? I mean triangle.
It will be okay. If you want a triangle, then you can say half base into height. So you give base and you give height.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So you want area of triangle, area of rectangle, and area of circle, right?
Through one constructor. So what you're going to do here is
Constructors.
you will pass three parameters. One will be the type of the shape. The other one would be, let's say, length or breadth, let's say. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
if the type is circle, then take the length value, calculate the area. If it's the type is square is rectangle, then take it length into breadth. If it is something, if it's a cube, the type is cube, then you're going to basically say L into B into H. So basically you're gonna have something called as you will only have one constructor, but this one constructor, based on your type, you will have if else condition, and you will have different ways to calculate the area. Did you get what I'm saying? Okay.
No.
See, you will create one class. It will have
One
one
constructor.
constructor which take three parameters. Always.
Okay.
Type, length, and breadth. Okay.
Okay.
If the type is circle, use the length part and calculate the area. Take length, assume length as the radius. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
If the type is rectangle, then you will have length and breadth. So in the case of circle, breadth will become 0. Pass the 0 value for the breadth.
Uh-huh.
Okay, if the type is rectangle, then length and breadth you will pass, and you will and L into B will be the L into B would be this one.
You need to create three objects, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Let me I think I'm let me think. Okay, let me send it you. This is not a good definition of what I'm trying to say. Let me send it to you in an hour or two. Okay, the assignment. So I'll tell you the next class is gonna be. I know Ravi is working, so I will make sure the classes will be at the later in the day. Okay.
Yes.
Okay then. Okay, Ravi, and okay, bye guys. Thank you. Okay, Priyanka.